Well, well, well. The Bucks come up big in the clutch. They hand the Lakers their first clutch defeat and now have a chance at a winning road trip. We recap one of the best wins of the season next on Locked On Bucks.
You are Locked On Bucks, your daily Milwaukee Bucks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome into Locked On Bucks. I am Justin Garcia, joined as always by Camille Davis. We thank you for making this your first listen of the day each and every day, and for helping make the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcasting network in the industry. Today's episode of the show brought to you by FanDuel. Before tip-off, check the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And for those of you joining us for the first time, you can hear me on the Bucks Radio Network each and every game. You can find Camille as part of our Locked On NBA coverage every week and the Technical Foul podcast as well. We come to you, I'm not going to try to do the math, Camille, because it's been a long couple of days here, but 8 hours removed? No, 12-ish hours removed. Hours removed from what was arguably their best win of the season. With the way that things were stacking up, we were talking before we started recording that this one, for a while in the fourth quarter, felt like, okay, I guess we're getting this film again where the Bucks control for 3/4 of the game, and another one of these added to the list of, well, you really should have won that game, and then ultimately, oh, great, a close loss in a game that we didn't execute down the stretch. But that's not what happened this time. It was the Bucks, the team making plays and executing.
Making big defensive plays down the stretch as well.
Well, somebody needed to, because there wasn't any offense.
No, the offense came to a complete halt, it felt like, in the second half. As the game continued going on, you could see the ISO happening more and more and more and more. Ryan Rollins, not a great shooting night for him tonight. Some of the shots, too, some of them he definitely forced along the way there, but others are just shots that are normally in his bag that just weren't falling for him in this game. First half, I thought that offensively, Kevin Porter Jr. was flawless in the first half there. Second half, also kind of divulged a little bit into that ISO ball. But the defensive effort I mentioned, the big plays from Giannis down the stretch, but also the defense from Kevin Porter Jr. on Luka, who really had the primary draw on Luka in this game, was fantastic. Rollins, when he got on Luka, bothered him. The Bucks did a great job defensively of just showing Luka bodies and making it difficult for him. Like we say all the time, great players are going to get their buckets. What you're trying to do is make it as difficult as possible for them to get said buckets. And I thought the Bucks did a fantastic job on Luka. You will live with Luka getting 24 points on 25 shots. He was frustrated, and you could tell why. The Bucks were on his hip. So I did love that defensive effort from the group down the stretch here, especially with how the offense started to stall there down the stretch as well.
Yeah, I mean, visibly frustrated, both he and LeBron. This was also a welcome sight in that it wasn't a bad whistle either. Yeah. Like the thing to, I guess, complain about the most, or where the Bucks would at least have the case, was, I think it was a pretty clear foul on that Luka play that fouled him out of the game, but we don't even want to trigger a review for a landing zone violation on this one. Like, okay, fine. But yes, they frustrated Luka all night. You could see a couple of times that he was, and I know he does this nightly, but really talking to himself and visibly upset and chirping back at the officials. It was a tremendous job to make him work to get there. Now, the one thing with, okay, let's we're gonna have to clean this up, is it was yet another game where the opponent took far more true shot attempts than the Bucks. I believe the Lakers were +8 in that regard. But you know what? All things considered, I'll take it, because the Bucks won every single one of those quote-unquote hustle stats and won on the margins tonight. So turnovers, yes, you had more. A lot of that was in the second half, but you outscored the Lakers in points off of turnovers 20-15. Yes, you had fewer offensive rebounds, but still 12 offensive rebounds for this group that's now doing it more consistently. And I think we spotted a few changes we can talk about in a second, but you scored more second chance points, 23-15 advantage there. Lakers live in the paint. You outscored them in the paint, 50-46. And most impressively, it's a Lakers team that the last time these two teams played took, 33 free throws? They also live at the free throw line with LeBron and Luka. The Bucks do not, as has been well documented. But you took 22 free throws versus their 14 and made 17 of them. You needed some breaks, and you got them. Very uncharacteristic night from Luka, not only in the field goal efficiency, 24 shots on 24 points on 25 shots, as you noted, but 4 of 8 at the free throw line. He and LeBron took all 14 of their free throws. No one else got there from the Lakers.
That actually does not surprise me when you actually say it out loud. It's always wild to hear something like that, but when you think about how the team is constructed and really who got the bulk of the shots in this game, that makes a lot of sense to me, seeing how it played out. And to your point about the true shooting, where it's like the Bucks took less shots than the Lakers did in this game, and that's been a trend we've noticed throughout the season. As I mentioned, like if you look at the first half numbers alone, both teams took 43 shots in the first half. When the Bucks offense dissolved into more of that ISO heavy basketball down the stretch, you could see it in just the shot attempts here. Like in the second half, the Lakers had 48 shot attempts, the Bucks had 36. Like that second half it felt tight, but ultimately entertaining because you were here for the stars. That fourth quarter, LeBron really put his foot on the gas and just kind of fueled the Lakers there. Luka, as I mentioned, a tough shooting night, but when he shot those threes, they were going up. It was entertaining in that sense there. And then Giannis, of course, what he did in his minutes tonight, just really efficient. 9 of 11 from the field there for him, 21 points, 31 minutes for him. Like, again, you were mentioning the fact that normally these little things can kill the Bucks, but they were able to overcome them. Again, in that first half, the Bucks were able to force a lot of turnovers on the Lakers and get out there and run. First half alone, the Lakers had 9 turnovers. The Bucks were able to get 16 points off of those turnovers in the first half alone. The Lakers did a much better job of taking care of the ball in the second half. Only 4 turnovers, gave up 4 points on that. And the Bucks had to dig through that because now the Lakers aren't turning the ball over as much. Your offense has dissolved a bit. How do you dig deep? And again, they leaned on the defense, which is another area for this team where there have been some questions at times this year of like, hey, the defense has to be better. And you saw it for large stretches in this game of like, hey, they're playing connected. Even AJ Green, who has normally been a target for many teams, I thought he had some great defensive possessions in this game alongside Kevin and Ryan and Giannis. Even Bobby at times we're just like, okay, that's a good show. That's good help there. It was really like a team effort to win this game down the stretch. And I think that's part of what made it frustrating because it's like, dang, we were up, 10-11 at halftime. And it's like, okay, now it's getting kind of close here. It's a clutch game. But for the Bucks to go out and actually execute in the clutch, another area where sometimes late game execution can be faulty for the Bucks. They were able to find a way to do it and hand the Lakers their first clutch time loss of the season, which when I saw that stat come up, I was like, it's time to add a loss to that.
All right. 88.68 to 97.16 was the true shooting attempts in this game. So the Lakers nearly +9 in this game, but you still managed to win. So the last thing you noted there about the Lakers' record in these clutch games and the Bucks hoping to get there. We'll dig into that. I also said we're starting to kind of see a few differences that may likely attribute to what we're seeing, at least in terms of growth. Not great by any means, but the Bucks are getting better at offensive rebounding. So we'll dig into that coming up after this. Well, Fridays already feel different during basketball season, and FanDuel is making them even better. Every Friday night before the game tips off, FanDuel gives fans a new way to kick off the weekend with NBA Happy Hour. NBA Happy Hour is your official pregame, a limited-time window where special offers drop right inside the FanDuel app before the action starts. From 6 to 7:30 Eastern, that's become appointment viewing with NBA Happy Hour. You open the FanDuel app during the happy hour and it brings something new. Boosts, bonuses, and surprises. It's easy to check the weekly specials before tip-off and make a move before that window closes. Perfect timing right before the games, right before the weekend starts, and it adds extra energy to Friday night basketball. So before tip-off, check the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern. A little basketball, a little action, and a whole lot of Friday energy. That's NBA Happy Hour only on FanDuel, the official sports book partner of the NBA. So, and the offensive rebounding we'll touch on in just a second here, but in that first half, the Bucks just 8 turnovers, and the Lakers only scored 7 points off of those. That's where the Bucks built the margin, is they forced 9 turnovers, so not like a huge volume more, but they scored 16 points off of them. And you could see one of the other things was they wanted to get out and run. The Lakers like to play at their own pace and play more of a half-court game. Credit to this coaching staff saying, you know what, let's get back to the first 5 games of the season when we were at least playing faster. Make this team get it up and down the floor. So we saw a lot of that. I think what really kept the Lakers afloat in that first half was they were 8 of 16 on threes. And not only that, I mean, it was the names that were hitting him. Marcus Smart hit both of his. Jared Vanderbilt comes in and hits a corner three. Gabe Vincent had one, and that would continue in the second half as well. So it wasn't the guys you would expect doing it, and that's what prevented this from being like a 15-point Bucks lead with the way that they had played through the first half. And again, true shooting attempts in that first half were even. So the difference came in the second half of this game where the Bucks turnovers increased and the Lakers were starting to run a bit more and getting out and scoring off of those turnovers. But, you know, offensive rebounding is something that we have seen steadily grow for this team. Again, it's still not great by any means, and I believe, I'll look it up as I turn it over to you, Camille, but I believe they're still like 28th in that category. But one of the minor tweaks that it does appear this team is doing a little bit more of is they're keeping guys when they're on offense and get the shot up. They're keeping guys at around the free throw line. Like, all right, let's wait to see if we can get the rebound. If not, then we're going to get back. We're not just getting back immediately. And the reason for that is if you're taking a lot of threes, which the Bucks and Doc himself said before this game, they still need to take more.
Yes, they do.
You're going to get long rebounds that would go out to basically where the free throw line is. So it does feel like that's picked up a bit in recent games, and so too is the Bucks offensive rebounding.
Yeah, and there are certain teams too where it should be more of a priority because, like, hey, this is a weakness of this team. If we crash the glass, we can really get some advantages here. The Lakers do happen to be one of those teams too, where it's like, hey, if you can crash the offensive glass on the Lakers, you're going to have some opportunities to do so because they just don't get to it as consistently as some other teams do when it comes to the rebounding consistently. And a thing that really stuck to me too in this game, I've mentioned since Giannis has come back, like just watching him with the burst and trying to see how he is and seeing him on the glass, like 6 rebounds for Giannis tonight, which you might look at and be like, well, that's a bit low for him. But the part that stood out to me was the fact that 4 of them were offensive. Like Giannis himself was one of those guys who was making sure he wasn't even free throw. He was at the hoop. Like, I'm just gonna see what I can get down here. Let's see what I can find. Let's see what I can do. And he was able to get his team some second chance opportunities on a pretty consistent basis for the squad. And then on the other end of the rebounding, I felt like Bobby Portis really was active on the glass. He led the team in rebounding, but it's not even just the raw numbers. It's like visually what you saw from Bobby when he was out there. Like, he looked like that was a mission of his to go and get the rebound, which a lot of times that's what rebounding comes down to is positioning and it's the effort behind it. Like, you got to make sure you're in good position, go up and get it. Do you want it or not? Go and get it. And Bobby was playing with that energy and they needed that, especially on the night where he wasn't shooting the ball as well as we've seen from him. And honestly, to the point about the 3-point shooting as a whole, like, this is another game where the Bucks didn't shoot as well as we know that they can from distance. And they were able to still make hay with it. knocked down some big ones when the time was needed. They made 12 overall in the game, 6 in both halves. So, like, again, it wasn't as if they were shooting from 3 as we've seen before, but they were able to continuously find ways. And I love that they were able to crash the glass. I think they'll have an opportunity to do so again in Denver on Sunday, another team that's going to be smaller. Make sure the glass is a point of emphasis because there can be real found money there.
So before the game, and we'll get back to a point on the rebounding in a second here, but before the game, Doc was asked about their 3-point efficiency and attempts, and if there was a number that he viewed that he would like to see on a per game basis. Did you hear any of this?
I did not.
Okay, what would you guess the number Doc said was?
For the team as a whole, how many threes that he wants them to shoot?
Yeah.
What, 40?
50.
Really?
Well, and it was one of the things where he said it and then kind of laughed, where it's like, all right, so this is half joking, so the truth is probably somewhere in the middle, but yeah, 50 is what he noted. Now, okay, it's obviously not a huge amount of data here in a big sample size that I am about to recite to you, Camille, but you've got to start somewhere. Right, you've got to start to piece together wins and play better here and just take baby steps and put one foot in front of the other. We mentioned some of the things they're doing more efficiently. There's a couple areas that really stand out we'll get to in just a second here. But let's start with rebounding. For the season as a whole, and we're, 38 games in now? 17-21, is that our record? Yeah. Total rebounding rate, where would you guess they rank?
So this is including both offensive and defensive, just pure rebounding.
Yep.
My gut wanted to say 19th, but the offensive is going to drag them down some. So let me say 21st.
28th.
Oof, even worse. Even worse.
28th. They are 19th in defensive rebounding and 29th in offensive rebounding. That is for the full 38 here. In the last 9 games, so this starts with that win in Indiana against the Pacers. And shortly thereafter, you got Giannis back. And this is the start of, hey, they've won 6 of their last 9 games. So that's why we go back to December 29th. They're 16th. So league average, right? You've gone from 28th to 16th there, went from 47.8 rebounding rate to 49.9. Half of the rebounds available, you're getting them now. That's step one. Defensive efficiency, defensive rebounding, they've gone from 19th to 16th. So we were already doing this better, but we're getting a little bit better in that regard, from 68.6% to 69.7%. Still not great. Like, you'd love to see that number in the 70s, but taking steps forward. Same story on the offensive glass. They went from 29th to 25th in this stretch, a 25.8 rate to 28.0. I can, you know what? If you finish 25th in offensive rebounding, I can live with it because of how much of an issue it was before, philosophical reasons, all of it. Like, fine, just don't be dead last. Don't be laughably bad in one of those teams that's second worst or third worst, somewhere around there. Like, get to 25th and shortly better than that. I'll live with that. The other two, let's keep driving it, moving those numbers.
Yeah, let's keep going. Do you happen to have what the Bucks historic, like last season, what their rebounding rate happened to be, just as a comparison point between, like, hey, this is what we saw, or some of the Bud years where it's like,
well, I mean,
this is
elite. Yeah.
Where it's like, just so people can have an idea of, like, this is the type of rebounding that the Bucks were doing previously. Here's where they are now. We're just trying to get it, as you mentioned. For offensive in particular, just don't be dead last. Just try to find some hay there. But defensive rebounding, ending possessions, that's like a non-negotiable. Like, you have to try to make sure that you're keeping teams off the glass, especially understanding that offensive rebounding is a focal point for a lot of teams in the NBA right now, trying to get those second chance opportunities. It's an NBA now where teams, of course, want to shoot as many threes as possible. With Doc talking about wanting to get 50 of them things up, offensive rebounding is going to have to be part of that as well. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I think one of the best 3-point shots you can get is the one that comes off of that offensive rebound when defenses are scrambling. So like try to take advantage of that. But I agree with you. That has to be an area they keep improving defensively in particular. Like I don't want to even see a middle of the pack. I need to see y'all upper half of the league in that defensive rebounding going forward. But that's an area for this team that they have to all commit to, because it seems like with the personnel, it's going to be a bit of a group effort outside of some of the bigs there.
I do have the numbers. We'll get into those and how jarring some of them are coming up after the break here, and a few other areas that stand out in this 9-game stretch, and hopefully 10-game stretch as we look ahead to the final game on this potential for a 3-1 road trip. We'll get to that coming up next on Locked On Bucks. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. As we roll into the new year, there's a lot of pressure to chase a new you. But sometimes it isn't about reinventing yourself. It's about feeling a little less weighed down. Therapy can help you understand what's been holding you back, giving you an outside perspective on your emotions, motivations, and relationships. And that's why BetterHelp can be such a helpful place to start. Their therapists are fully licensed into the U.S. and work under a strict code of conduct. They help match you with a therapist based on your needs and preferences, so not doing all the legwork. You're not doing all that legwork. And if the match isn't the right fit, you can switch to another therapist from their tailored recommendations at any time. BetterHelp has served over 5 million people with more than 30,000 therapists, and live sessions average a 4.9 out of 5 rating across more than 1.7 million client reviews. BetterHelp makes it easy to get matched online with a qualified therapist. Sign up and get 10% off at BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA. That is BetterHelp.com, H-E-L-P, BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA. So here is, well, let's just start with offensive rebounding. And we'll go back to the start of the Bud era and for all intents and purposes, this era of Bucks basketball. They were always, for the most part, in the bottom 5-ish in offensive rebounding rate. Remember, it was the title year that they really said, okay, we're going to offensive rebound more. And that carried over for a couple of seasons. But from 18-19 from that year, they were 26th, 28th, 12th, 16th, 12th, 25th, 30th, and now 29th this season. So they were dead last year with a 21.6 offensive rebounding rate. Yes, very, very bad. On the defensive side, that is the alarming part of what is going on here. So that first year of Bud, they were third best with a 77% defensive rebounding rate. And here we're talking about what, 69 we said in this stretch, a 68% overall, but 77. Then the following year, the 1920 year, when they were on pace at one point to win 70 games, they had a 79% offensive or defensive rebounding rate. That was tops in the league. So they were in that stretch, third best, best, third best, second best, eighth. Last year, they were 6th in defensive rebounding rate, and now they're 19th. So something's got to give there. It's a number of things, right? I think part of it is how you are utilizing the players that are on your roster. A big part of it, too, is it's a smaller group. And I know it's going to be easy to point to, well, funny now, too, that the people that were the most vocal critics have recognized how much Brook Lopez did help you rebound. But it's not just Brook Lopez. Well, you miss Brook Lopez and Miles Turner just isn't good. There's a number of things, but still, to drop that far from a team that was, for what are we talking about, 8 years in the top 10 in that mix, from that to basically bordering on a bottom 10 team overnight, that's been the troubling part.
Yeah, agreed. Like I was hoping that you were able to find those numbers pretty quickly, because in my mind, I was like, I know it's going to be kind of stark. And I would love for the listeners and the everydayers to hear just the difference of here, and try and understand of like what we're saying of like, hey, we're not even asking right now for y'all to be what you were before. It just has to be better than what we've gotten. And yes, there has been a personnel change on this roster with, swapping out Brook Lopez for Miles Turner. But still, there are still some very key guys there who have helped lead the Bucks in rebounding on this team that are still here, in a Giannis, in a Bobby, that you have to continue getting that from. Miles Turner, needed from him as well. You're seeing guards trying to step in, and they're going to have to a bit with them being undersized on the wing there. And a lot of times when you're seeing those offensive rebounds from other teams, it's opposing wing players who are sneaking in there and just trying to see what they can get off the glass. What kind of found money can they get? So as a whole for the team, rebounding has to be an area where they continue to work at it, continue improving it. And you just can't have those possessions where you don't have a body on somebody, or you're just looking around at the, like, you have to be playing fundamentally when it comes to getting those rebounds, boxing out, putting a body on somebody, getting after it, and doing it as a team, really, because as we've seen so far this year, it's going to take more than just what we're seeing from the bigs on this team to get those boards. Kuz, Rollins, KPJ still in there, sneak in there and get some, as they have so far over the last couple of weeks in particular. But it just has to be a group effort for this group to continue trying to rise up those rebounding number ranks.
Yeah, and I did think overall they were much more connected for large portions. Doc said after the game he felt really good about 36 of the minutes that they saw last night. And I think that matches really when you look at, there was a concerted effort that they were going to get the ball. Like you saw it from Kuzma, you saw a couple of stretches from Bobby, Miles Turner too. Like it wasn't, what we've seen for large stretches earlier where it's just, oh, I didn't put a body on that guy, and there he goes to get it. That they were closing out the possession. Not to say that there weren't instances of like the LeBron James offensive rebound and put back late. Like those still happen, but the volume of them was cut down significantly. So, all in all, I don't know that I would say it was their best win of the season, but it may prove to be that if this can continue to be a launching pad for this team, because it did feel like this was the exact type of win they needed at this exact moment, too, on the heels of Giannis's comments about, we'll see if we can get there, and, what you need from the team and giving yourself up and sacrifice. It felt like we saw a lot of that. Now, there were still stretches where we didn't, but we saw more of that in this game than we have arguably in any other game since those first 5 games of the season. One other quick note on this, too. It was the first loss the Lakers have experienced in clutch games this season. It is not only that, it is the first time the Lakers have lost by single digits this season. Yeah. So, like, you can still lose a clutch game by double digits, right? Like, all it means is at any moment in the last 5 minutes of the game, the margin was within 5. So it could be a 5-point game with 4:59 remaining, and the other team goes on a 16-0 run, and that's still a clutch game. But this is the first time the Lakers lost by single digits. They're now 13-1 in those games. The Bucks, I believe, are 11-10. And the previous low for the Lakers in terms of volume of defeat was opening nights when they lost to the Warriors by 10 points. So that was the other uneasy feeling, is this is a Lakers team, as we talked about leading up to it. They've been winning games despite having a negative point differential and a lot of numbers that would suggest, okay, this team isn't a top 4 Western Conference team, but their losses, man, have they been losses. They have 13 losses on the season now. 6 of those have been by 20 or more points. And they were average margin of defeat over 18 in those losses prior to last night. So the quicker that the Lakers sliced at that lead and it got down to 4 and 2, and then eventually they jumped in front. Anybody that has followed along this Lakers season, I think you got this uneasy feeling of, it felt like that was our chance. And here we go. Another one of these Lakers wins and another one of these Bucks losses.
Yeah, because when you have a Luka and a LeBron on your team, no Austin Reeves out there yesterday, for the Lakers with him dealing with the injury. But when you have 2 guys like that who can knock down those types of shots when the moment matters, even if they have been shooting poorly throughout the evening, they can get 1 to fall, 2 to fall. The rhythm can change very quickly. Again, when LeBron started rolling in the 4th quarter, I was kind of watching. I'm like, okay, LeBron's getting it going right now. Okay, and now he's engaged, because that's been the thing for LeBron in particular, where it's like he's 41. He does not play every possession. Sometimes he's going to take a few off because he's trying to make sure he's saving his energy. But for that 4th quarter, He was locked in the entire way. And I laughed when I saw Giannis get the block first and then the steal. I was like, Giannis locked in too. Like it is what it is at this point. But yeah, the Lakers have been an interesting team so far. But on the Bucks side of things, after they lost to the Warriors, the losses feel, I mentioned, they feel different because of where the Bucks are in the standings right now. Every loss feels a little bit heavier because, like, man, we're trying to make up ground. We can't have these losses right now, but they're going to happen in the course of an NBA season. And I was like, hey, 3-1 is still on the table for this team to finish out the road trip. They just have to make sure they respond in LA and that they don't finish with the dud in Denver because they look across from them and they say, there's no Nikola Jokic, there's no Valanciunas. We're not sure at the moment of this recording.
We're not sure who's going to play because of an illness that's ripping through that
because they're sick too. So
yeah,
we'll see what it looks like. And I will say that the sick part, that always worries me because I don't want that virus to jump to our team as well, playing that close to one another, and then it rips through our locker room. But you can't really control that. We'll see who gets out there. But whoever it is for the Bucks, they cannot lose their focus just because they might not see some names that they expected to see when this game was announced at the beginning of the year.
So, yes, a chance at 3-1, and it is going to be a challenge because, even without those names, the Nuggets have gotten Christian Braun and Aaron Gordon back. Aaron Gordon's still continuing to come off the bench on a bit of a minutes restriction. Christian Braun fully inserted into the starting lineup, but as we noted, Jamal Murray didn't play in that game last night. I believe, seeing some of the reporting coming out of Denver, there was a couple of more players that were apparently impacted by this illness post game. I think Zeke Naji was one of them, and maybe Peyton Watson. So we'll keep an eye on that. But the starting lineup, this is not the matchup we envisioned, right? Hunter Tyson, Peyton Watson, Daron Holmes, Christian Braun, Jaden Pickett. Like, okay, so this is the version of the Nuggets, but they're winning. They're 3-3 in those games without Jokic. So that's the thing, is if we can't undo things, you can't go back in time. But if you could have treaded water without Giannis, even better, right? Like, not even every single game, not play 500, but get 3 of those games to go your way. You're 20-18 right now. If you're 20-18, you're a half game back of the Miami Heat for the 6th seed in the Eastern Conference. But larger picture, 6-3 in your last 9 games, a good chance to get it to 7-3 in your last 10 games. And as of this moment, the Bucks are a half game back of the 10th seeded Bulls and a game back of the 9th seeded Atlanta Hawks. So after all the time that we spent talking about this, Camille, you're a game away from being a couple of games away now. So you've at least chopped a few of those off there.
Yeah, and I want to see that continue, because that's been the thing with this team where it's like you have a stretch here and you're like, okay, you can see the habit starting to form. You can see the habit starting to form. Hey, they might be turning the corner. And then they have a game where you're like, okay, it feels like we've reverted back to some unseemly habits that have affected this team throughout the season. You don't want to see that. Games are long. You're going to have stretches in games where things probably aren't going the way you want, but you have to continue to respond. Every game is going to be different. And as you called out with the Bucks record in the clutch, the Bucks have had over, what you said, 22 games so far now in clutch time situations where it's like, hey, last 5 minutes, it's winnable. Go out there and win the game. Find a way to win the game. So the Bucks have to continue to build on that. And we talked about like, hey, well, some of the teams that they beat along this way, they haven't been the greatest team. So like, we'll kind of see how that looks against better comp. Not to say that, you know, if it's a zombie Denver team like that, people are going to look at that and be like, well, that's a good win for the Bucks. But Denver's historically been a tough place for this Bucks team to play. It's still the 4th game on a 4-game road trip. It will be a good win if you can get to it. And then what the Bucks have after that is the part where it's like, okay, you're going to be seeing some comp because you're going to be seeing the Timberwolves very, very soon again. And we know what Ant has up in store. You're going to have the Spurs after the Wolves, then the Hawks, then the Thunder, then the Nuggets again. So like, let's see how those lessons get applied to some competition that people can look at and be like, well, that's a top team in the West right now, or a Hawks team that's ahead of you in the standings, a Thunder team that won the championship last year. So like, it's now time where it's like you've been doing well in these little pop quizzes coming up, and now we got a test coming up. What do you do on this upcoming test against some pretty good comp?
11-10 now in clutch games for the Bucks, and they're 4-1 in their last 5. Defense has been getting it done in those. That's what we saw last night against the Lakers. They have an 86.5 net rating in the last 5 defensive rating in these last 5 clutch games. 41 net rating in those games. So they've been starting to grind these out now on a more consistent basis and continuing to take those steps forward here. So again, it's winnable. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy, but it's a winnable game on Sunday. And if you can get that, then all of a sudden, now we're talking, Camille, where you would be 18-21 pending the result of what happens with the Bulls tonight, who are taking on, we think they're going to play against the Dallas Mavericks. Maybe they'll run into a court issue again, but pending the result of that, you could then move past the Bulls, and you'll know that Sunday, right? If you're going to be tied going into that game and a win pushes you a half game in front of them. So
hopefully Chicago loses both games they have today then.
a chance is there another game going on that I'm
yeah
a chance with this schedule that is going to be challenging. 6 of your next 16 between now and the All-Star break are against teams with a losing record. But, in the case of the Atlanta Hawks, they could get to 500, or if they win their next 4, they could have a winning record by the time you play them. But you really would circle between now and the All-Star break, the Indiana Pacers and the New Orleans Pelicans at home. You need to win those games.
Yep.
The Washington Wizards, final game in the month of January. You owe the Wizards. It's been a long time coming. You need to win that game. The Dallas Mavericks, January 25th at home. You need to win that game, especially that's another team that's going to be down a big for an extended period. Stop me if you've heard this before with no Anthony Davis. So you're going to have to get those games. And it leaves, some huge ones we'll get to as we get closer. But back-to-back games against the Magic, your final 3 games going into the All-Star break are all on the road. And it is at Orlando, at Oklahoma City. Those would be the first games against the Magic, just like 1 week from Monday is the first game against the Hawks. But you have 2 games against the Thunder, 2 games against the Nuggets, 1 more with the Timberwolves, your first game with the San Antonio Spurs, your first game with the Hawks, another game with the Sixers on the road. Yep. You've got a lot of challenging games here. So those ones that we just outlined, they're non-negotiables, and continue to build these habits and start to steal some of the other ones.
Agreed. And when you're at home, let's try to win those games. That's the only other thing. When you're at home, try to win those games, because as we've talked about on the show earlier this week, the Bucks have to get that home record up as well.
Yeah, suddenly 8-12 on the road, which, that puts you with Orlando, Miami, the New York Knicks, right? You're basically doing the same thing that those teams have done in road games. So let's start to improve the 9-9 at home record. But yes, arguably the best win, biggest win of the season, especially if this can be a launching point. And if you can carry this into Denver, and then we get to the Minnesota Timberwolves game, we're saying, can they finally put together a win streak? Can they finally hit 3 straight games? If this continues Sunday in Denver, then I would be willing to say, yes, this was your best win of the season. But let's see what happens in the next game. Still, a solid win for this group that continues to inch closer to the playoff picture. We'll be back again Monday to recap the final game of the road trip, the Bucks and the Denver Nuggets. And again, hopefully we're previewing what could be the first win streak of the season, Tuesday at Fiserv Forum against the Minnesota Timberwolves. It is going to be quite a day, Camille, and I don't know. It's not really a day that I wanted. I would have much rather. I just can't deal with the thought of things not going the way you would hope for today. Look, I could live with getting boat raced by the Eagles, by missing the playoffs, but making the playoffs and losing to that team down south is not anything I am ready to work through.
Me either. And I'll be talking about it after it happens. So hopefully talking about a victory, a Packers victory tonight. Cause as you said, I can't handle it. And I know the first person on my phone is going to be my grandpa. And he will talk all the trash because he is one of the biggest Bears fans I've ever met. It's difficult to have a Bears fan in the family, Justin, let me tell you.
Well, everybody enjoy your Saturday. Enjoy the weekend. Hopefully later today you get a reason to enjoy the weekend. Thanks as always for tuning into the show. Again, coming up on Monday, we'll have a recap of the Bucks and the Denver Nuggets. Make sure you subscribe and follow Locked On Bucks so you get all the latest episodes, especially as we move closer to trade deadline season. When something happens and we do a live show, you get notified immediately and get the instant reaction to any potential deals that we see go down here in trade season. If you never miss an episode, then the Everydayer Club is built for you. You get Locked On Bucks ad-free, plus members-only Discord access and more. You can find the link to sign up for the Everydayer Club in the show notes of today's episode. For those of you on video, we send you now to the first ever 24/7 national NBA YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you make that your second listen. NBA game nights on Locked On NBA. For Camille, I'm Justin. We'll talk with you guys once again on Monday on Locked On Bucks.